Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome back to the southern wing of the Stink Bug Works. I haven't been with you for a couple of days because I've been out surveying property in Blossom Valley or fooling around with something in Fallbrook. And so I've just been preoccupied with other things. I'm still waiting on the rudder for this thing, so a lot depends on the rudder, the servo placement, for example. So I'll have to mount the rudder first to decide where I'm going to put the servo. And then, how am I going to mount this servo? And I want to steal a lot of the ideas from the Scord, the Mini Dom, and in fact the M450 Cobra, to where they use a coupler. They just cut this push rod and they use a coupler for making adjustments, and that coupler floats out here, or it could float in here. One of the things I noticed about this is the transom is actually square with the hull, and you don't find that very often on fiberglass boats, but the way this molding worked out, it's square. So I don't really need to do any shimming of the rudder per se to get it vertical. But, and even though he's applied an extra layer of glass here on the transom, I'm not 100% sure that that's going to be enough material to hold that rudder. So my plan is to take a square of G10 fiberglass. I'll probably use the 16th inch stuff and just glue it back in there. And then right, where the rudder mounts, it'll be just as a doubler back there. I think that'll be good for that. Then, how am I going to mount this servo? Now, ideally, I would want to mount it here on the floor, but that has the servo leaning this way, making it hard to get at any sort of mounting screws. So I went back and looked at the Mini Dom, the Scord, and the 450 Cobra, and they all use the same system, where the servo sat on a floor, not necessarily the floor, but a floor, and there were two little posts with threaded holes in it, and a bar went across the servo and held it in place. Here, let me draw you a picture. So you would have a plate like that on the surface, and then let's draw a straight line. You'd have a standoff with a hole in it, and the same thing over here. Another, there's how you draw a straight line. Another standoff, and the servo would go down in between there, and then a plate would go on top with a couple of screws going down in here and holding it in, and it would all pinch the servo in place. So that's my plan. I'm just going to make a G10 square, get some 1/2 inch long standoffs, threaded 440, and I'll put them in from the bottom with countersunk 440 screws, and JB weld the screws to the standoffs. So that'll all be permanent. I'll glue that down to the deck of the boat, and then the servo will just nestle between these two standoffs, and I'll have a G10 plate with a couple of 440 screws holding the thing in place. And that will be my servo mount. What do you guys think of that, huh? Quick and dirty. Easy, and it'll look professional. So there you go. Those are my plans. I haven't done much since I finished the Gazinta and the Gazada. One of my viewers said that he likes to see the water flow coming out. And I'll admit I do that on 99.9% of my boats. One or two of them I've vented in places where you can't see it. And quite frankly, it's a simple cooling system. It's going to work. If it doesn't work, well, I burn something up. Why wouldn't it work? Something that gets in there and clogs it. What's the odds of that? Pretty slim. So I will take my chances and not really being able to see the Gazada. I mean, some of my boats, I even have it coming out the top just for whimsy. Anyway, there you go, boys and girls. An update on some thinking. I finally solved the servo mounting dilemma. Now all I have to do is put it into action. Until then, boys and girls, jet out.